UI collection view is an object that manages an order collection of data items and presents them using customizable layouts. And I actually found this on Apple's documentation website. It's one of those rare cases where it exists and makes sense. So by an order collection, we mean any collection of data if it's organized. It has to be ordered for a collection view to kind of know what data it wants to present. Otherwise, it would just get confused. The second part of this definition is using customizable layouts. That just means that UI collection view is really flexible in terms of the layout of items it can present. By the layout, we usually mean the positioning on the screen of the items. Like here you can see, first of all, that the items are ordered, 1, 2, 3, and so forth. But you can also kind of see the layout itself. It resembles a list. So it's a simple list with one item and then the second and the third. And these layouts are kind of more complicated. 2 columns, 3 columns, and they all have different heights. And that's surprisingly pretty easy to do with collection views. Also, I want to mention that even though we're going to be using just one section today, you're not limited to just one section in your collection view. So you can see here that you can have multiple sections in one collection view with items kind of spread through these sections. So basically, I've identified 4 steps that kind of lead to a successful UI collection view. First of all, is to create the layout. So there are some pre-built ones that Apple gives us for free. You can also make your own. That's also surprisingly easy to do. But we're going to be using today something that Apple has already given us. And they gave us a list layout. I think it's new in iOS 14. So it's like brand new. It's only 6 months old or something. So we're gonna be using just a simple list layout in this case. Then we actually need to create a collection. We're gonna be doing that in code today. And then the third step is to create a data source for that collection. And I'm gonna be explaining data source shortly. But in this tutorial, we're gonna be using differable data sources. That's also kind of new. That was introduced in iOS 13. But it's completely different from everything that we've done prior to iOS 13, and in my opinion, it's really cool. And finally, we have to define the cells themselves and the cell appearance using the collection data source. And after that, the collection can go ahead and do its magic. So what do I mean by data source? Also the delegate, but we're going to be talking about that later. So data source is just a way for a collection view to get the data from us, because we're going to be storing data ourselves, but the collection view somehow needs to get that data. And it does it through its data source. And data source is nothing more than just a simple protocol, or I think they called interfaces in Java, something like that. It's an easy way to give the collection view the data that we have, and all we have to do is to implement the data source protocol or have a data source object that we can pass to collection view. The same goes with the delegate. So delegate is kind of an object itself that implements a certain protocol that lets the collection view report the events that it has to us, so we can kind of process them. like touch display and everything else. Also, a quick note about snapshots. Difficult data sources rely on snapshots, and well, when I first started using them, it wasn't too obvious what they meant. But a quick overview is that a snapshot is just a kind of a picture of your current state or your current data. And how the different data sources work is that they take your old snapshot of data and then you provide a new snapshot. You can see here that I kind of have my reminders list here, and imagine before in between this old snapshot and the new snapshot, I added a fourth one. So like prepping for this presentation. And what the diffable data source does, it kind of like literally kind of puts them together and looks for differences between them. So here I put them one on top of each other, and you can see here that there is one difference in this one, highlighted in blue. So that's what the diffable data source is going to use to discern what items it needs to add and what items it needs to move, reload, etc. So that was a quick introduction, quick theory. So now actually we're gonna do some coding. So let me know if you have any issues. I'm gonna be able to monitor the chat, but if there is an issue, please can someone just interrupt me, because I don't think I'm gonna be looking at chat from time to time, but I'm not gonna do it often. So Phil, maybe you could. Yes or no? Can you all hear me? Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay. So let's create a new project. It's gonna be iOS and a simple app. And we're gonna be calling it reminders. We're gonna be building an app for a reminders app. So for me, I have kind of developers, my personal developers team. I'm not sure if it allows you to do. Yeah, it probably does. So I don't think you would need a developers team at this point. But I'm not sure what the latest developments are. I think Apple made it so that you can only have 3 projects, and then you have to get a team or something like that. So organization identifier could be anything, like anything you want, pretty much. Actually, yeah, you could put your name or something. I put my initials. So make sure you select storyboards. We're not gonna be using SwiftUI in this tutorial. And it kind of selects UIKit app delegate for you automatically. And the language is Swift, not Objective-C. So, and if you want to include tests or not, it doesn't matter. We're not going to be using them anymore. So next, I'll create it on my desktop. Okay. What's this complaining about? Is it my signing? Yeah. Anyway, so we have a blank project. Can you guys do you have any problems with that? Just creating a blank project from scratch. Alright, if you have any projects, so just put them in the chat. So I'm pretty sure someone could help you. So the first thing we're gonna do is kind of select this controller right here, and there's a little button right here with the down arrow. Embed in and select navigation controller. So navigation controller is it kind of gives us like this bar right here, and we can set our own titles. Let's see, for title, it's under navigation item. and I'll put my reminder.
How did you do that again?
All right, so which part? The
Getting the extra screen.
yeah. So if you click here,
Mm-hmm.
um, this one, the left one, and then on click this one right here. See, it shows you embed in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then just select navigation controller.
Okay, thank you.
You should get the second screen right here. And if you select, for you, it should say navigation item right here, but since I changed my title already, it says my. If you select that, you can change the title for your bar. So I'm gonna just put my reminders right here. Um, what is it? So technically, if I run my app right now, we should just see a blank screen with the title my reminders right here. All right, nice. Um, so second thing that we're gonna be doing is adding a new button to this right side of the navigation bar. So then when we tap it, we can actually create a new reminder for ourselves. And in order to do that, click this plus button right here and search for bar button item. Not I think if you search for just button, it's not gonna work. You need to specifically select bar button item because we're inserting into a navigation bar. And how that works is, yeah, you're gonna select it and do not release your key. You kind of just going to be dragging it to the right side of the navigation bar and dropping it right there. This is like one of the most controversial things in iOS development. Is just this visual drag and drop, which is pretty cool. Um, So in order to change this text, you can change the title, but I'm gonna be using in this system item. Just click add, and it's gonna give you this little plus button. So that it kind of indicates that you wanna, if you press it, you're gonna be adding something. All right. So the next thing you want to do is actually connect this button to code, so that when you press it, we're going to be doing some logic to show the reminder on the screen. So in order to do that, click this button right here. You should get two screens. Um, so I would position my screen here like this and switch to the second screen and open this viewcontroller.swift file. See how it opens that for me? And then kind of put them in parallel. So what you want to do is select this button right here, press Control. I think it's Control, yeah. So press Control, and without releasing Control, start dragging this button to your code. You should see this blue kind of weird line appear, and just drop it right there. Um, that's kind of how we connect buttons and actions and outlets from storyboards to the code. Um, yeah, so for the name of the method, I'm just gonna I'm just gonna name it add reminder. Press enter or connect, and you should see this function pop up in the code. It should be prefixed with IB action, and this little dot should be filled. That kind of indicates that this function is connected to the storyboard. We're actually not going to be using storyboards anyway, so you can just close it. Gonna be writing some code finally. So to see if this works, you could just print something to the console, run it, and we should get the same screen with the button, with the plus button, and when you tap it, you should see the text appear. So see, every time I tap it, the new text, the same text appears because I'm printing the same text. Cool. So we got the button to work. Now we're actually gonna want to write some code. So the first thing I usually start with, um, you don't have to start with that, but I kind of like uh, declaring my models first, or like my model layer, or whatever you want to call it. So for this app, our model is going to be a reminder struct, and it's just a representation of a reminder in code. If you think about it, for each reminder, we're going to need some text. So I'm just going to declare my text variable of type string. So that already makes for a good reminder, but for this app, we're actually going to be implementing a feature where you can press on the reminder and mark it as complete or not. So I'm just going to kind of add a second variable, complete, and it's going to be a boolean of boolean type. So if a reminder is complete, it's going to be showing the UI for a complete reminder, and if it's not, it's going to be showing that remind you still have to do the reminder, and make sure it's a var, because we're going to be changing this variable, and if you declare the let, you're not going to be able to change it in code later. So as I said, for the collection view, it's going to be of type UICollectionView. I'm just looking at my code there you wrote. So here, it's this method is called whenever the control is initialized. So we're going to be initializing our view here too. So collection view equals new collection view. You can see here that for the initializer, we're going to be needing frame for the collection view and the collection view layout. That's something I talked about. Remember when we have to declare layout and then declare collection view? We can't declare it right now because we don't have the layout. For the frame, you can just put 0. It's going to figure out what to do with it later. So we have a problem. We don't have collection view layout. So I suggest we create it. So we can write a new function called create layout. That it's going to return UI collection view layout. Is it? Yeah. So also, as I mentioned, Apple provides us with some default layouts. The most obvious one is UI collection view flow layout. It's gonna that's the oldest layout that Apple provides. With iOS 14, they actually added a new one, and it's called UI collection view. Collection view compositional layout .list. And .list, it kind of means like if you it's going to return a UI collection view layout. That's a list. So we get all our reminders in a nice neat list instead of kind of having it side by side or any other configuration. It's going to be a simple list. But again, for the list constructor, we need this UI collection view list configuration. Yeah, I hate myself. These names are kind of lengthy. So we're gonna be creating this configuration. View collection layout list configuration. There you go. By the way, for the completion thing, you have to press tab it's gonna complete, or enter is gonna complete it for you. So this one takes the appearance, and if you click, if you press dot, you can see all the appearances it can take. So these three ones are the kind of old ones, pretty famous. But the sidebars and the sidebar planes are for the iPad appearance. In new iOS 14, there's a little sidebar for if you go to any Apple default app, there's a little sidebar to the left. So that's what the sidebars are. But for this one, I'm going to be using insert grouped. You can use grouped or plain. It doesn't really matter. The only thing that's changing is the appearance. So yeah, return that collection view layout. So we created a method for our function that returns the collection view layout. So that's good because we can call it from here. And now our collection view is fully initialized with the layout, which is good. That now it knows how to lay out its cells. So we're gonna be using some other things like, what is it called? Auto-resizing masks. Yeah. So this is just to make the collection view stretch and occupy the full screen. Because we kind of set the frame to 0, and it's going to be stretching it for the whole screen. And then we need to add the collection view to our controller subview. This makes the collection view a child of this main view. Then knows what to do with it. At this point, I think if we change the collection view background color to like say red, we should be able to see it. Nope. Should we or should we not? Anyway, or maybe hold on. Yeah. So honestly, just put the view bounds in here. I always get confused because whenever this view is called, it's the views bounds are either set or not. That always confuses me. But for this thing, we'll just auto resize it whenever the view bounds change. So now, if you actually change the background color, you should see the collection view. Yeah. So as you can see, the collection view doesn't have any cells yet because we haven't given them the cells. So, and in order to give them the cells, give the collection view the cells, we need the data source, as I mentioned. That's where the collection view gets all its data for the cells. So we're going to be declaring another variable, and it's going to be of type UICollectionView diffable data source. So this is a generic class, and it needs, you can see here actually. No. Anyway, so the first parameter it needs is an identifier for the section. We can use a simple string here because we're going to be using just one section. But if you have multiple sections, it makes sense to kind of create another struct or enum to hold the section data. And for the items themselves, the data model that we're going to be using for the items is reminder, and that's actually what a diffable data source expects. I don't know why it's not showing. It should show like a little quick help where it says like item identifier or section identifier. But anyway, so the first parameter here is a section identifier, and then it's item identifier, which is an item for each cell to use. You see here that it complains that reminder is not does not conform to hashable. Good thing about structs is that you can just put hashable here, and it will kind of generate the conformance, because strings and bools are hashable themselves. So that's pretty neat. And the reason it needs to use hashable is actually the algorithm for diffs to kind of put the diffs together and find the differences. The reminders have to be hashable because it makes the algorithms compute the hashes for each reminder and kind of do its magic yeah, pretty efficiently. So that's why it needs to be hashable.
Is it basically a hash map?
Yeah, sort of. I don't know. Apple doesn't give us any inside code, but I'm assuming every time it needs to compute a diff, it computes a hash for each reminder and kind of like it compares the hashes instead of like it needs something to compare each reminder, and hashes are supposed to be unique, or if it's not, they kind of figure out how to compare them. So it just makes things easier for the algorithm than they use apparently. I know they don't tell us, unfortunately. I would love to look at the code, but anyway. So now we actually need to create this data source. So in order to do that, I'm just gonna use another function, create data source. It's gonna be returning UICollectionView data source. You can return either one. I'll probably go with difficult data source. So it has to be of the same type as the one that we declared here. Yeah, a lot of typing today. Anyway, so to create data source, we're just gonna be returning UI collection difficult data source string reminder. There we go. So the data source actually needs a collection view and a cell provider. So the cell provider itself is actually a closure, and I know you guys haven't done closures yet. So we're gonna be taking another route. In order to mimic the closure behavior, we're gonna be writing another function, and I'm gonna explain what that function does shortly. So let's call it cell provider, because see, we try to mimic the same names as the initializer uses. And this cell provider is going to be taking in collection view, UI collection view, index path, and a reminder. And it's going to be returning a UI collection view cell or list cell. It doesn't really matter if they are all subclasses. For clarity, I'm just going to put here list cell. But if you actually, let's see. Yeah, see, it's a subclass of your collection view cell, so it doesn't matter what you put. So what's going on here? So the data source, as I said, it kind of requests the data from us, and also requests the cells from us. So that means that we have to create and return the cells back to the data source, so it can actually present them on the collection view. And the way it does it is with this cell provider. So what cell provider does is providing cells, but it does it in a clever way. What's going to be happening is that the data source, because it knows how many items, how many reminders we have, it's going to be calling this function with these parameters every time it wants to create a new cell. And what it wants us to do is, with these parameters, it wants us to return a new UI collection view cell. And that's why we pass this function to the collection view data source initializer, so it knows what method to call when it wants a new cell. So to create a new cell, we're gonna be using the API that's already that's new in iOS 14 as well. It's gonna be a lot of code again, but I think we're gonna get through it. So the first thing we're gonna need to do to create a new cell is called registration, and that's a completely new thing that comes with iOS 14 this year. It's of type UICollectionView registration, cell registration, and handler. We're gonna be using for the handler. Handler we're gonna need to write a new handler. So here, right. So the handler. Then with the registration, we can just return collection view, DQ, configurable, reusable cell. This first one using registration, and index path we given here, and item we also given. That's the reminder, I believe. Yeah, reminder. So this method here, DQ configurable reusable cell. So the collection view kind of manages the cells for us, and it would be kind of dumb for the collection view to create a new cell every time we have a reminder to when we want to create a cell for the reminder. Because imagine we're having 1,000 reminders, and there is a finite number of cells we can fit on the screen. Usually with small rows in the list, they for 44 pixels, and if you divide 44 by the points, the height of the screen, there's probably like 15 to 20 rows that you can fit, but we have 1,000 reminders. So if we were to create 1,000 different cells for each reminder, the app would probably crash or something, because it's going to take a lot of memory. So what UI Collection View does is every time we scroll, it knows what portion of the reminders it's showing currently, because as I said, the reminders in the array are ordered, and it's using the order to kind of know what section of the array of the 1,000 long reminder array is showing. So we're going to be and every time kind of a cell goes out of the screen, it would put it in a queue, and then we're going to be dequeuing from the queue to kind of not create the cell every time. And that just reduces from the need to create 1,000 cells to creating 15 to 20 cells and just like reusing them every time. Anyway, so this function actually needs this registration thing. Registration is just something that that every cell needs in iOS 14. So how that works is we create a new configuration, and we apply the configuration to the cell, and then the cell will use the parameters from the configuration to configure itself. So it's pretty cool. Let me show you. So the configuration we're going to be calling content. Actually, let's call content, and actually this handler creates a new collection view cell, and index path. I'll put a handler here. Of course, and the item. It's not complaining anymore. So what we do is we request a new default Yeah, I guess the default is only available for the list cells. So we request a new default configuration. This configuration is for the content. You can see here. There's another type called the background configuration, and that's going to be applying configuration to the background of the cell. And in this case, we're just going to have a simple white background, so we don't need to worry about that one. So for the content, it has a parameter called text, and that's just the default text that the UI collection displays for each cell. And the text is going to be our reminders text. So content.text equals reminder.text. And then what we do is we apply this configuration to the cell, and we do that by setting the cell's content configuration to our new content. So something like that. So what it does, it creates a brand new default configuration, configures the text of this configuration with our reminders text, and applies that text back to the cell. And that way, the cell can now show the text of the reminder, which reminds me to create a new reminder array, and it's going to be empty at first. So this array is going to just hold all the reminders that we create in the app. We can kind of test it here. Actually, it's not going to work anyway. So we're halfway through it. We're probably halfway through it. So we've done all the configuration for the collection view. We've done all the configuration for the cell. The almost. And the only thing that remains is to to tell the collection view to reload itself. So with different data sources, we actually have to write code to for reload, but in kind of older APIs, it came with the collection view itself, which is kind of a bummer, but also lets us write more code, more custom code to reload the collection view. So we're going to be calling it reload reminders. It's going to be just a simple function. So what we're going to be doing here is creating a new snapshot. Remember the snapshot kind of illustration that I did? This is going to be of type diffable data source snapshot. And the parameters here, string and reminder, have to match these parameters here, because when it's going to be comparing the snapshots, it has to compare the same snapshots. It wouldn't make sense if you had if you have a different type here and here, because it doesn't know if you had string here and the reminder here. It doesn't know how to compare a string to a reminder in a snapshot. So we're going to be creating a new snapshot, and we're going to add just one section to this snapshot. Append sections. So let's just append. We're going to append just one section here. We'll call it main, but you can call it whatever you want. It doesn't really matter since we only have one. And then we're going to be adding append items. We're going to add all items to it, to the snapshot. So what it's going to do is going to be creating a new snapshot with all the current reminders that we have, and then send it to the collection view or to the data source. And it has a method apply. Apply. Let's see. Let's do a simple one here, a snapshot. So the data source is going to apply this new snapshot that we created, and keep in mind that the data source actually has our old snapshot that we applied before this current one. So it's going to be comparing that using that hashable thing to see the differences between the two snapshots, and then it's going to actually tell the collection view to reload itself based on the differences that it found. Which is pretty cool, because in order to kind of add or remove rows from the list previously without this diffable thing, you had to manually find the differences in your data model. And it created a lot of trouble and a lot of exceptions, and a lot of code broke down because of it. So this diffable data source is a lifesaver. Anyway, so we have this method reload reminders, and now we can actually reload the reminder. So we're gonna append to our reminders array a new reminder. Yeah, text and complete. Let's make it complete false. And then every time we modify our array, we need to call this reload reminders method. That's going to display the new data on the collection view, and we have to call it before after we modify our array, because if we call it before, the snapshot is going to be the same as the old snapshot, so it's not going to do anything. And with that, I believe. Oh, yeah, right. So we well, we create this method, create data source, but we actually never set it up. So data source equals create data source. So it is, yeah, very nice. So you see this, we create this new reminder. If we wanted to create initially a second reminder, we just append a second one uh, to our reminders list or reminders array, and it's going to be displaying two of them, which is pretty cool. Yeah, so the next thing we need to do is actually not add the reminders to the array in code, but to let the user do that. Because right now, if we press the plus button, it's just going to display the text, and we don't want that. So in order to do that, we're going to be displaying an alert, and the alert is going to have a text field in it where the user can input its reminder. So for this section, I just suggest you just copy what I type, and I'll try to explain it later, everything. So for the alert, we're going to be creating a new alert controller, title, new reminder. Do I need message? And the preferred style is alert, not action sheet. So after we create the alert, we add the text field to it, a text field. This is just so that the alert has the text field, so the user can actually type into something. So okay, so this is actually a closure. We haven't done closures yet, but if you double click on this gray area, or you click and then press enter, it's gonna be great. It's gonna do this for you, and shouldn't have any problems in terms of errors and stuff, I believe. So
Wait, can you repeat that again?
yeah,
You went a little fast.
yeah. So alert dot add text field. See, and once you press enter, it should highlight this gray section, because before it's gray, but it's going to be highlighted as blue, right? And what you want to do is double click on this blue section, and it's going to appear like this. Or you can, when in the highlighted state, you can just press enter, and it's gonna do that thing for you as well.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Yeah. So just type what I type. We're gonna be doing closure setting later this semester, and it's gonna make more sense after that. So text field dot placeholder reminder, and so we're configuring the text field right now. The placeholder is gonna be that gray text, and that's before the user types anything, which is gonna be saying enter or enter reminder here. Anyway, so alert add action. UI alert action with the title. Again, like every time you see the list pop up, you can select what you want and just press enter, and it's gonna auto complete it for you, which is one of the few nicest thing about Xcode. Anyway, so title cancel, style destructive, handler. We don't need handler, so just delete it. So this is what it's gonna do. It's gonna add a button to our alert that says cancel. Um, so and then when you press cancel, it's just gonna dismiss the alert. So if you clicked the plus button accidentally, you can just press cancel and you don't have to type a reminder. So and then we actually need to handle the case when we actually want to edit. So add new action, UI alert action, title, save file. Oh, so by the way, see how my blue section is highlighted here, but my gray section that's coming next is not. So in order to switch between them, I just press tab. So again, if this is highlighted and the next one is not, all I need to do is to press tab and it's gonna highlight that one for me. So that's also pretty neat. So for the save style, we're gonna be using just default. And then again, if I press tab, it's gonna highlight this thing for me. And once again, the same thing we did with the text field, you just have to press enter or double click twice and it's gonna do this for you. So you don't have to mess around with any parentheses and stuff. So put underscore in it, underscore. That means something, but we're gonna do that later. All right, then just keep typing. Guard let reminder text equals alert dot text fields dot first dot text else return. So quickly, this thing is gonna is pretty much saying give me the first text field of the alert and the text field text. If the text doesn't exist, just exit. We don't have any business with alerts that don't have text in it. And then we're actually gonna create a new alert, a new reminder. My bad. So reminder text. The text is gonna be the text of the text field that we get here. Because at this point we know that the text exists, because if it didn't, we would have exited already here. And the complete false, because initially the reminder is not complete. Kind of makes sense. So then we call cell.reminders.append new reminder. That's gonna add the new reminder to our array right here. And then all we have to do is to reload the reminders. And that's going to display the new reminder on screen. So that's we're done with alert, and now all we have to do is to present this alert on the screen. So if we, U controllers have this property named present or a function. So we're going to be presenting alert, animated true please, and completion, we don't need completion. So we're creating the alert, wearing the text field so the user can type in something with adding the cancel action so that if the user tapped accidentally can cancel, and we add the save action. Every time the user presses the save button, we're going to be reading the text that's currently in the first text field of the alert. If there is text, we're going to proceed. If there is not, if the text doesn't exist, we're just going to do nothing. We're going to be creating a new reminder with the text that we just got, adding it to our reminders array, and reloading the entire collection view. So the new reminder kind of shows on the screen. Finally, we just present this new alert. Let's see if that works. There you go. Oh, that's kind of weird, isn't it? Why is it black screen at first? I don't think it should be black screen. Anyway, so you can see here that if you press plus, you can have go do groceries. Save. There you go. Let's add another one. Go to the gym. Oh wait, hold on. CRC. There you go. I haven't been to CRC in a year. Yeah, see how that animates the new reminder? That's because the different data sources. I think um, on default it animates the new alerts. So see how they appear neatly? That's kind of cool. So with that, we're pretty much done. The only thing left for us to do is to every time we select the reminder, we kind of need to show that it's complete. So that's our way of marking the reminders complete. So for that, we're going to be using CollectionView delegate. And as I said, CollectionView delegate is a way for a CollectionView to tell us what's going on with it, what's going on in the CollectionView. And it's a simple protocol. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna be implementing this protocol right in our view controller. So that's pretty cool. We don't have to do it in our view controller. We can do it in another class, but for convenience, we're gonna be using our own view controller and assigning it to the collection delegate. Um, See here that it gives me error. So if you press button here and say fix, it should add collection delegate, and it's if you jump to definition, it's a protocol, as I said. Um, so if you don't get this for some reason, all you have to do is after UI collection view UI view controller here, add UI collection view delegate. Um, anyway, so this should build. Doesn't build. Nice. So if you go to this UI collection view delegate, you see there's quite a few methods that the collection view calls every time something goes on something's going on with it. The one we're interested in is did select item at, and this method gets called every time we select the item. So see, like I selected this item is gray now, and every time I do that, the collection view is going to call this method right here, which is exactly what we need. So for this, just start typing collection view, and you should see a list of methods here. And for me, did select item add is the second method that it shows. So all I want to do is just press enter, and it's going to autocomplete this for me. So let's see. Yeah, so because our data is ordered, the data source actually knows what reminder we selected if we specified the index path. And conveniently, the collection view gives us the index path, which is kind of like a unique identifier for each cell um, in this method. So all we can do is we say selected reminder equals data source item identifier for index path. Um, and then, so this gives us, we're asking the data source for the reminder at this particular index path. And then we want to find the actual index of this reminder in our array. So we're gonna say index equals reminders dot first index of selected reminder. Sorry, let of course. Oh, else return. So we're asking the data source for a selected reminder. The selected reminder is identified by this index path that the collection view gives us, and then we need to find this the index in the array. Should probably in the array index in the array of this selected reminder, and the index in this our like main reminders array. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna call collection view deselect item at index path animated true, and that's gonna do is every time when we select the item, it's highlighted as gray, and we don't want that. We don't want it to be gray. At least I don't. So it's gonna unselect that, and then we're gonna select a reminder. Actually, change this to var because we're gonna be modifying it, and it's not gonna let us do that if it's a let. Select a reminder to complete .toggle, and that's just if it, and that's just gonna toggle this boolean. So if a complete is true, then we're gonna make it false. If it's false, then we're gonna make it true. And then reminders index in the array equals selected reminder. And then the final thing is going to call reload reminders. So yeah, so we're getting this reminder from the data source. We're toggling its complete parameters, so we know if it's complete or not, and then we assigning it back to the reminders array. Because we kind of made our reminders a struct, we can't just say index reminders dot index in the array. We can't just say this. Anyway, so the point is that the structs are value types. So every time you change it or you copy it from here, you have to assign it back into the array. Yeah. So I promise this is the last thing we're gonna do, and it's gonna work. Hopefully. So here, see, the last thing we're gonna do is in this handler method, when we configuring the cell. Right now we're just assigning the reminders text to it. We're gonna be doing something more, and what we want to do is to kind of make the cell a little make the cell different when it's complete, when the reminder is complete, and when it's not. So in order to do that, we're going to be changing the reminders text alpha. And what alpha does is it's going to be blending the text, because the text, the default color for text is black. If we set the alpha to something other than 1, it's going to blend the text with the background. And the background in our case is white. So the text is going to be looking kind of grayish or something. That's if the alpha is something other than 1. So if it's from 0 to 1, it's going to blend the text. If it's completely 1, it's going to be just default black color. So for the reminder, the alpha is going to be if the reminder is complete, and the alpha is going to be 0.1 and 0.5. Otherwise, it's going to be 1. So if it's complete, we want to blend the text to make it kind of grayish. If it's not complete, the text is fully black, so it's default color. So for the content, content has this property text properties, and it has this color property. So for the color, it's gonna be just UIColor.black, and with alpha component alpha. So it's gonna be creating a new color. The new black color, but it's going to be adding this alpha parameter to it. And when the black is 0.5 alpha, it's going to be a little grayish. So this complains that it has to be CG float, so just kind of cast it to CG float and it's going to be alright. Anyway. Also, if the reminder is complete, if it's complete, we want to add an accessory to the cell. And accessories are also kind of new, or not. Anyway, it's a new way to define them in iOS 14. And as you can see here, if you press dot, they have different ones. They have delete, insert, a label, and other stuff. And accessories just like little icons to the left or right of the cell. In our case, if the reminder is complete, we're going to add a check mark. Kind of looks like this to indicate that it's complete. And with that, let's see. New reminder. Take my dog for. Alright. I added a new reminder. So now I'm gonna press it. Once I press it, the collection view is gonna call this method here. We're gonna get this reminder and change its complete parameter. Once we change the complete variable, we're gonna reload the reminders. This is gonna cause this method to get called again, but this time the alpha is gonna be 0.5. This is gonna make our text slightly transparent, and it's gonna add a check mark to this cell. So let's see. See, so it made the text a little more grayish and added a check mark. Now if I press the this cell again, it's gonna toggle the complete again, making it not complete. Reload again, and the check mark disappears, and the text goes back to being black. So you can change you don't have to stick with black. Obviously, you can change it to different colors. So for example, you can say that select a complete color, white color. Oh, reminder. So if it's complete, we're gonna be using UIColor.red. Otherwise, UIColor.black. And just property here. Now see, every time something is complete, it's going to be showing red text here. In my opinion, it kind of looks weird, doesn't it? Change it back. Anyway, so this is it. If there are any questions, let's see. So if there are any questions, now is the best time to ask them. If there is not, we could do something else. Something I
I have
found
a couple questions.
Yeah, of course.
So first of all, on the main storyboard, what was the point of like the navigation controller? Why can't you do the same thing on like the main storyboard itself?
So okay. So the question is about this navigation controller here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the main thing I use the navigation controller in this example is to give us this title, my reminders, and to have a place to put this button here. Obviously, you didn't have to use it. You could use like a label here
Mm-hmm.
and a button.
Okay.
But then like I didn't want to bother like centering the label and centering the button so it aligns with the label. So I decided to go ahead and use the navigation controller because it gives us this little useful bar that we can configure. um, but the main purpose of navigation control is to navigate the controllers pretty much. So say if we wanted to kind of tap on these reminders, and every time we tap, we wanted to present a different screen where we will have more details about the reminder. So like location, the dates, and for example. So the navigation control would allow us to switch between different screens, and that's the main kind of purpose of it.
Okay. That was my next question. So thanks.
Oh, okay, yeah. So no, navigation control is awesome. It's the main way we switch um between screens, pretty much.
And
Yeah.
also, like, how would you make it so that the app can like hold a like in this case, does the app like remember what you put in if you refreshed it?
Oh no, not at all. No. So look, every time I kind of press this button here, it refreshes the app. So see, like there's nothing. So there's nothing until I add a new reminder, for example. Um,
So how would you
so
do that? Would you have to have a database?
yeah, yeah. So there are different ways you can go. You can go ahead with this. I know three. I can think of three right now. The first one is something called core data. So if you import see core data, and this is like Apple's native kind of was a database management system. This comes for free from Apple. It's a headache to set it up and kind of make sure that everything works. But that's like what Apple wants you to use. The second way is to use a third-party database management system. The one I've used previously is called Realm. Um, and I'm sure Realm is not just for iOS. It's used anywhere, I think. Um, but that's like a third party type of management system. And the easiest one is called user defaults. So you can access it anywhere. See, user defaults is a singleton, pretty much. So if you, I think it's called, what is it? User dot standard. Yeah. Um, dot standard dot set something. So here you're setting a value, any value for a certain key, and that's going to persist this value across multiple launches of the app. Um, but I think there is definitely a threshold to how much data you can actually put in user defaults. I think it's like 10 kilobytes or something. So for if you have like 10,000 reminders, user defaults is not gonna do it, unfortunately. Um, uh, uh, the main purpose of user defaults is to store, settings for the users. Maybe like the user data itself, like the image URL, the name, the age, whatever for the user, or the settings of the app for like light information about the app, but definitely not the full-blown database.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're interested in databases, I would suggest look into Core Data or Realm. Um, yeah. Anyway, so Uh, if there are no further questions, or if you come up with any questions, feel free to interrupt. But I'm gonna do just one final thing. Um, so I discovered that. So keep in mind this stuff is completely new to me too, because most of the things I work on require iOS like 12 or 13, and this is iOS 14 stuff. It's brand new, like 6 months old. So I'm learning this on the go as well. And one thing I discovered here is there is a functionality for reordering, and that's really cool. Let me show you. So you have to set up your database in a certain way, data store, and the data source in a certain way. Return data source. So data source now has the default with data source thing, now has reordering handlers, and like it's pretty much what the name says. It can reorder stuff now. So this kind of closure, it can reorder item, and we want to reorder all the items. So we're just gonna do this, I guess, and this is gonna allow us to reorder every reminder that we have. And then the last thing here, you want, let's say, accessories. Actually, so after you add accessories, you want to append a new accessory, and this time is a reorder, um, reorder, and this one. I don't think. Yeah, I've tried the this without the parameters, but it doesn't work. So displayed displayed always options. Yeah, just I think it's just this. So just type in init. It's gonna give you default options for the reordering. So now if we build, let's see. You see now we have this kind of indicator here. It looks like reordering, and we can reorder with just one. So let's add a few. Now we can kind of drag and drop, drag them like this. and it's going to reorder stuff for us. And like the functionality for marking them complete doesn't change, and that's why I meant by accessories. So you can add multiple accessories, and they can be on either side of the cell. So if you add a delete accessory, it's going to be on the left. If you add checkmark or reorder, it's going to be on the right, obviously. And it's kind of cool. And it only took us like what, 2 lines of code. You can imagine like this before iOS 14. I would probably spend an entire day just like you know implementing this reordering feature. Uh, but with iOS 14, it's only 2 lines of code. It kind of makes me really sad because it really is something. With these different data sources, they can find like differences pretty efficiently and give us this functionality. Before that, we had to find differences kind of with our own hands. Sometimes it would crash the apps actually, because if you get the rewording wrong, the table view or the collection view would just crash the app immediately. It won't even bother. It's pretty big pain. So anyway, I encourage you to kind of look more into NS difficult data sources. There's a lot more to them than I just showed you.